Now that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills have Stefon Diggs, can he become one of the best Buffalo Bills wide receivers in history? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to this Could It Happen Buffalo Sports edition of Billievers Talk, where we take a hot take in Buffalo sports and we ask ourselves, could it happen? Again, guys, thank you for joining me for this episode. My name is Joe. If you are new to this channel, first of all, thank you for joining me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as we continue to keep you up to date on all Buffalo sports, including our Buffalo Bills and our Buffalo Sabres and all other Buffalo sports. Not much going on right now, obviously, with everything going on with the coronavirus. Guys, please make sure you're being safe and just heeding the CDC's warnings and everything. Just be safe out there, and hopefully we can get back to sports soon. But in this episode, we are going to talk about, could it happen? We're going to ask the question, could it happen? Could Stefon Diggs, newly acquired wide receiver formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, have one of the best statistical seasons for wide receiver, single seasons for wide receiver in Buffalo Bills history? So in this episode, we're going to talk about some of the best seasons by wide receiver in Buffalo Bills history, and we're going to talk about what Stefon Diggs has done in his first 5 years in the NFL. And we're going to ask ourselves, could he have one of the best statistical seasons at wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills of all time? So again, guys, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. YouTube will notify you when we put out new content like this video. And leave a comment. Let me know, first of all, what do you think? Do you think Stefon Diggs could have one of the best statistical seasons of all time in Buffalo Bills history? And who do you think in Buffalo Bills history currently has had the best statistical season? We're going to go over 4 of my options for you here in a second. But first, let's talk about Stefon Diggs. Let's talk about what Stefon Diggs has done in the first 5 years of his NFL career. Again, all with the Minnesota Vikings. In 5 seasons with the Minnesota Vikings, Stefon Diggs has 365 catches, 4,623 yards, and 30 touchdowns. Now, you average that out between 5 seasons, you have 73 catches, which is one more than what John Brown had in 2019. You have 925 yards, and you have 6 touchdowns. That would be an average for the 5 years, 73 catches, 925 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Now, the yards and touchdowns would not statistically mean anything in as far as Buffalo Bills history. The 73 catches would be, again, one more than what John Brown had in 2019. It's been a while since we had wide receivers with more than 70 catches, although it did happen once, but 2 players in one season. We're going to talk about that as well. His best receiving year as far as receptions, Stefon Diggs, came in 2018 when he had 102 receptions. Now, I'll tell you this, guys. If he has 102 receptions in 2020, he will then be the Buffalo Bills leader in receptions for a season in history. Currently, the leader for receptions in a season is Eric Moulds when he had 100 receptions in 2002. He leads the Buffalo Bills in receptions. He's the only Buffalo Bills receiver to ever have 100 or more catches in a season. And then in last year was Stefon Diggs' most productive year when it comes to yards. Last year, Stefon Diggs had 1,130 yards. If he does that in 2020, that would put him 10th all time in Bills history for single season wide receivers as far as yards. So already, if you're looking at his best receiving year in 2018 and you're looking at his best yards year in 2019, you're looking at a top 10 wide receiver in Buffalo Bills history as far as single seasons go. So let's look at some of the Buffalo Bills wide receivers in history and ask ourselves, who's had the best statistical single season in Buffalo Bills history as far as the wide receiver position? Again, if you have a name that you like, leave it in the comment section. If there's a statistical year that you say, hey, you forgot about, or maybe that you think did a little bit better, that is a little under the radar, let me know in the comment section. Or out of 4 I give you, let me know who you think had the best statistical season, because I'm going to list every single statistic, or every little big statistic. We're talking about yards, we're talking about receptions, we're talking about touchdowns, and we're talking about completion percentage. I'm going to give you the number 1 for each in this for the Buffalo Bills in their history, and you tell me which one you think had the best season. So first, in my mind, the best statistical season in Buffalo Bills history was Eric Moulds in 2002. You're talking about 100 receptions. Again, the only Buffalo Bill to break triple digits is Eric Moulds in 2002. 100 receptions, first in Buffalo Bills history. He had 1,292 yards, which is fifth in Buffalo Bills history for wide receivers, and 10 touchdowns, which is tied for second among wide receivers in Buffalo Bills history. However, he's not the only wide receiver in 2002 who had a great year. In fact, my number 2 wide receiver as far as statistically goes in Buffalo Bills history, and again, we're talking about single seasons here, is Peerless Price in 2002. 94 receptions for Peerless Price. That's tied for second all-time in Buffalo Bills history for wide receivers. 1,252 yards, which is seventh in Buffalo Bills history. 9 touchdowns, which is tied for seventh in Buffalo Bills history. And he caught the ball 63.5% of the time, and that's first in Buffalo Bills history for wide receivers who had more than 25 targets. Again, you threw the ball to Peerless Price. He caught 63.5% of the time. Pretty good. We'll talk about why that's an important stat in just 1 minute. Third on this list is Eric Moulds in 1998, 67 receptions, 1,368 yards, which is first in yards in Buffalo Bills history for a wide receiver, 9 touchdowns, which is tied for seventh in Buffalo Bills history. And if you're one of those guys that say all that matters is scoring touchdowns, I want the wide receiver who has scored the most touchdowns in Bills history. That's the guy who's had the best statistical season. I got you, but it's not going to be a name you're expecting. In 1995, Bill Brooks had 53 receptions for the Buffalo Bills, 763 yards, and 11 touchdowns, which is first all time in Buffalo Bills history for wide receivers. So those are my top 4. I put Bill Brooks as 4th just because the yards and receptions could be up a little bit more. But again, my number 1 is going to be Eric Moulds in 2002, 100 receptions, 1,292 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Let me know if you agree with that or disagree in the comment section below. But I talked to you about why Peerless Price's catch percentage is such a big deal. Again, first currently in Buffalo Bills history as far as catch percentage for a season goes is Peerless Price, sitting there with 63.5%. I mean, 63.5% of the time you threw a ball his way, he was coming down with it. That includes overthrows, underthrows, bad throws by the quarterback at that time Drew Bledsoe. It includes everything. So 63.5% of the time you threw the ball his way, he caught it. Well, that's pretty good, but Stefon Diggs has been better almost every single season he's been in the NFL. In fact, if you average out his first 5 seasons, Stefon Diggs has a catch percentage of 68.4. 68.4, and that is one of the reasons as we get ready to start on why I think Stefon Diggs could become one of the best wide receivers as far as single seasons statistically goes. That's a hard word to say sometimes. Statistically, why I think Stefon Diggs could become one of the best wide receivers, single season wide receivers in Bills history is because of his catch percentage. You're talking about his catch percentage at 68.4%. Not only that, only his rookie season back in 2014 did he have a lower percentage than our current number 1, which was Peerless Price at 63.5. And his second year in the season, he made up for it by catching the ball 75% of the time. 75% of the time. That's unreal. If he did that in Buffalo, and we're talking about 70 catches his second season as well, it's not like he had a few targets or anything like that. He had Sam Bradford as his quarterback as well. I'm just saying, I think Josh Allen's going to be a better quarterback than Sam Bradford career-wise. Let me know if you disagree in the comment section, but I'm pretty sure you agree with that comment. And again, his average of 68.4% is 5.8% higher than John Brown in 2019. If you remember John Brown in 2019, he had 72 receptions. Now, it's been a while since we've had a Buffalo Bill wide receiver have more than 70 receptions. I believe 72 puts John Brown 14th all time on the Bills receiving list. Now, you're talking about a guy who has almost 6% more of a catch percentage, he's going to get maybe a little bit more on the targets, and that means he's going to have a few more receptions to go his way as well. Again, averaging 68.4 catch percentage. One of the reasons why I think Stefon Diggs can have one of the best statistical seasons at the wide receiver position for the Buffalo Bills. The second reason why is because of an improving Josh Allen. That's right. When it comes to a stat like this, when it comes to having statistically a good season in Buffalo Bills history or in any history, you're talking about the connection between the quarterback and the wide receiver, so the quarterback matters. So if you look at Josh Allen's statistical improvement between 2018, his rookie season, and 2019, he can hopefully improve more in 2020, which means his completion percentage will go up, which means he's completing more of his passes, and a few of those passes are going to go to Stefon Diggs, and hopefully that means that he's able to extend plays a little bit more, and he'll have a wide receiver who he trusts. Instead of having to run all the time, he knows that Stefon Diggs is going to continue to try to get open. He knows that if he throws the ball, he has a guy that at one time caught the ball 75% of the time, who he can throw the ball up to, and hopefully Stefon Diggs can make a contested catch or come down with the ball in traffic, however you want to put it. And also, when you look at when Brian Daboll went into the booth, how much Josh Allen's game improved, I think that can only continue to get better, and that only means good things for this wide receiving core. Now, I know what you're thinking when you think about wide receiving core. You're saying, Joe, there's just too many weapons, right? You're talking about John Brown, you're talking about Cole Beasley, you're talking about Dawson Knox, you're talking about too many weapons, including Stefon Diggs, that could potentially impact the idea that Stefon Diggs will have one of the better statistical seasons at wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. And although there's some truth to that, and we'll talk about that in a second, let me remind you that in 2002, we had two wide receivers who had over 90 receptions. So there's no reason why the multiple receivers can't have successful years for the Buffalo Bills. Last year, you had John Brown get, 73 receptions, something like that. I think it was 72. You had Cole Beasley get 67 receptions. So they were obviously very close to each other in receptions last season. Well, if you have add Stefon Diggs, a new number one threat there, maybe that gives Stefon Diggs more openings. Maybe they can't double team Stefon Diggs because you have Cole Beasley, because you have John Brown. Or maybe there's just too many weapons, and that's why Stefon Diggs will just have about a 70-catch season. And we'll talk about that in a second as well. But again, in 2002, you had Eric Moulds and Peerless Price have over 90 catches. There's no reason why that Stefon Diggs can't have a very successful season, and you still have multiple weapons on this team. But for one of my reasons why Stefon Diggs might not be able to is just because there are too many weapons. Again, you're talking about John Brown and Cole Beasley both having about 70 receptions last year. There's only so many receptions to go around. If you look at that 2002 season, which I've mentioned a lot so far in this video, yeah, Eric Moulds had 100 receptions. Yeah, Peerless Price had 94. But the rest of the team combined, and this is including running backs, this includes fullbacks, this includes tight ends, had 183 receptions. In fact, the next wide receiver was Josh Reed, who only had 37. So you're not going to get that from Cole Beasley, right, who's going to be the number 3 guy now. Cole Beasley is still going to get 50, 60 catches, and that's going to take away the targets from Stefon Diggs. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not sure that Stefon Diggs will be able to have one of the best statistical seasons for the Buffalo Bills. My second reason why I don't think Stefon Diggs can have that type of season is because of the pass to catch ratio by the team. Guys, in 2000, you thought that we did not run the ball, that Brian Daboll doesn't run the ball enough last season. In 2002, the Buffalo Bills run to pass ratio was 61.2% pass and 38.8% rush. We ran the ball less than 40% of the time, passed the ball 61.2% of the time. In 2019, Brian Daboll actually ran the ball 47.6% of the time. We only threw the ball 52.4% of the time, which is more than running. But if you look at that number, that's almost a 9% decline from 2002 to 2019. That 2002 season, of course, being that year where you had Moulds get 100 receptions and Peerless Price get 94, two of the best statistical seasons in Buffalo Bills history. We passed the ball 61% of the time, so it's easy to see why you ran the ball. Now you could play devil's advocate, or that why you had those two guys break out that year. Now you could play devil's advocate, right, and say, well, now that we have the wide receivers to do it, maybe we're going to pass the ball closer to 60% of the time. As a lot of the NFL is becoming more and more a passing league, maybe we're going to get up to that number, or get close to that number, and not be so close to 50-50. Last year, only passing the ball 52.4% of the time. So those are two of my reasons. My third reason is, remember who the Buffalo Bills quarterback was in 2002? A pretty good one in Drew Bledsoe. No, I think Josh Allen's going to improve in 2020. However, will he get to Drew Bledsoe level? Drew Bledsoe, a potential Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, he did that well, led his team to a Super Bowl before when he was with the Patriots. I mean, he's a really good quarterback, and I think that Josh Allen in his career is going to be better than Drew Bledsoe. But will he be better than 2002 Drew Bledsoe in his third season as the Buffalo Bills signal caller? So those are a few of my reasons why I think Stefon Diggs could do it. Again, catch percentage, averaging 68.4% of the time he's catching the ball. Improvement of Josh Allen. Again, will he improve as much as Drew Bledsoe in 2002? We'll have to see. And then the Bills' offensive weapons. Again, 2002, you had Eric Moulds and Peerless Price go over 90 receptions. Can Stefon Diggs do that in 2020? Why he can't is just because there are so many weapons, right? It's not just two guys. We're talking about three, possibly four guys, and you have a very good running back in in Devin Singletary. And I'm not saying you did in 2002. You had you had Travis Henry. I wish we had Derrick Henry. You had Travis Henry back there, who was a very serviceable back. But I think Devin Singletary is much better than what Travis Henry was for the Buffalo Bills. I think we're going to see that next season. My number two reason why I don't think he was just the pass to run ratio. Again, we passed the ball 60+% of the time in 2002, only passing the ball 52.4% of the time last season. So that's going to have a little hampering on the chance of Stefon Diggs actually having one of the better statistical seasons for wide receivers in Buffalo Bills history. And then you just wonder, even though I think Josh Allen will improve, will he improve enough to give Stefon Diggs the chance to have one of the best statistical seasons of all times as far as history for Buffalo Bills at the wide receiver position? Let me know what you think in the comment section, guys. Do you think Stefon Diggs can have one of the better statistical seasons in Buffalo Bills history, or do you think he'll get caught up in the mix of Beasley, of Brown? Now you throw Diggs in there. Maybe Dawson Knox will have about 30 receptions or so, just only one ball, not enough receptions to go around. I think Josh Allen only threw the ball about 490 some times last season, so only so much time, only so many plays to get the ball to him. Will he fall a victim to that? Again, let me know what you think in the comment section. Again, thank you guys for joining me for this Could It Happen edition of Billievers Talk. And again, hit that thumbs up button and let me know if there's a Could It Happen Buffalo Sports hot take that you would like me to do a episode on. Be happy to do it. Again, guys, thank you for joining me. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.